Welcome back to Kinda Stubborn, episode 7, I believe. And first and foremost, apologies for missing last week's episode. I didn't feel like talking on camera, and that's just kind of the bare bones of it. But also, as I'm apologizing, I got a lot of problems with you people. It's a Seinfeld reference, name the episode in the comments. I noticed a severe lack of comments in the YouTube section or on my Twitter or my Instagram or what have you. I noticed a severe lack of, hey, John, where's the podcast? Oh, I can't. I can't. I don't know how I can get through the week without hearing episode 7 of Kinda Stubborn. I've been worried sick. Is everything okay? I know I've been seeing you active on Instagram and on the Stash Club YouTube channel all week, so I know nothing's really the problem or wrong, but I can't. I missed my Kinda Stubborn. Well, first of all, I'm glad I'm back and I'm able to relieve any of those stressors that may still be in there for you. However, I don't believe they are. Like I said, a lack of that. So if we could pick that up, huh? I'm joking, obviously, but good to be back. Been kind of going through what I want this show to be. I feel like the past few episodes have gotten a little personal, and I don't want this like I want this to be like either just like funny or just like about stuff that I like. I don't necessarily want it to be like super intimately about my life, if that makes sense. Like, it's still my thoughts and opinions and, oh, what do I think about this and da-da-da. But I don't know how intimate I want it to be in terms of like a theme, like theme-wise. Like, this isn't like this is like the therapy podcast or this is like the whatever. Like, this is supposed to be fun and like, I don't know, whatever. Also, on the flip side of that, though, I don't want it to be so disconnected where it's just me faking opinions and having opinions on things just for the sake of having opinions. Because contrary to popular belief, I'm not a super, in my opinion, I'm not a super opinionated person. And what I mean by that is, you know, obviously I have a wrestling podcast and I give my opinions on a weekly basis and I make YouTube videos and I give my opinion in, you know, here and there, whatever. I have opinions, and when something comes up, I can form an opinion based on my beliefs. But most things, especially when it's trivial, like it's like wrestling or what's your opinion on this actor, what's your opinion on this like viral thing, whatever. I can form an opinion based on like my belief system and what I truly think and can be a genuine opinion. But more so what I mean is I'm not hard pressed or married to most opinions. You know, like I don't care that much is what I'm saying. So when I come on here and there's like we'll take like the first episode, for example, and I think I talked about like the Hawk Tuah girl, right? In reality, I don't give a shit. I didn't even think the video was funny. However, I'm also not mad at her for trying to take advantage of the success and blah blah. Where like a lot of people online will have an opinion of like she's great and funny, or like the common opinion with that is like, oh, we're just making everybody famous now. Da-da-da. I'm so passive, like in reality, to a lot of things, and it just doesn't make sense to me, and it's stupid to me to like come on here and like, oh, what was the hot thing today? Oh, the for example, the Costco guys did this thing and something about the Rizzler and blah blah. What's my actual opinion? When I tell you I don't actually have an opinion on them at all, and I'm using them as an example, like this isn't actually about them, but you get it. If someone were to ask me like, oh, what are your thoughts on them? I can form a opinion, little think piece, thoughts, what I think about it in internet culture, whatever. Absolutely. But when you go on a podcast and there's the title of the video is the Costco guys blah blah blah, and you talk about it for 15 minutes, it really gives off the impression that you actually have a real hard opinion on it. And it's like, in reality, I am so just, I have such little investment in something as I don't know what the word, I'll use the word trivial, but as that, I don't know. Long tangent. It makes sense in my brain. I'm also very aware that like me sitting here saying like, I don't have opinions on anything, but I can have opinion. It doesn't make sense. But more so, it's like I don't want to. Maybe opinion isn't the right word. Maybe it's just like genuine care is more what I'm talking about. Like do I genuinely care about the Hawk Tuah situation or the Costco guys, whatever? No. Do I have an opinion on them? I can. It's just, is it really worth it, or do I really care enough to express that or to dive deeper for the sake of a little think piece on a podcast? I don't know. That's where I've been at. I've been really getting into, I'm really late on it, but I'm really getting into Jake Johnson's podcast, We're Here to Help. I don't know why I haven't listened to it before. I'm a big fan of his. I think New Girl is great. I think he's hilarious. And the premise of their show, again, it's called We're Here to Help, and it's again, it's all them, and they give their own opinions, and it's very personality driven. But the base of the show is people call in and like, hey, I have this problem, and most times like funny. Like today's episode, I'm in the middle right now of the first like problem, and the girl was talking about like, I'm in a adult rec league volleyball team, and there's another team that's really good, and I don't like them, and they're making the league not fun. How can I sort out this problem that I have with this team, right? And in reality, it's not that serious. It's not that deep. It's pretty trivial. I think trivial is the word of the day for this episode. And that's funny. And then they pitch ideas. It's like improv based. They pitch ideas. They joke back and forth. But what's cool about it is in actuality, they're like following up with these people. Like, no. Like as funny and as ridiculous as either A, the situations are, or B, the solutions are that they give, they will follow up. They obviously have a whole like social media team or whatever, but they'll put actual plans into place. Like for instance, this girl, forget what city she lives in, let's just say St. Louis. They're going to put out like a social media post to look for like the best volleyball players in St. Louis to join her team to take down her rival team. And they really emphasize like, we'll do this if you actually want to do this. And then they get follow-up calls and they're like, how did the problem work out with our advice and blah, blah, blah. It's really interesting. And the point I'm making with that is, I think now at episode 7, I'm hitting that wall that everyone has when they're just like, I'm going to start a podcast. Is the theme, whenever you ask someone, oh, what's your podcast about? What's your podcast about? Whenever someone's like that, me included, I'm talking about myself, the theme is always like, oh, I'm just gonna talk. Oh, I'm just gonna talk about my life. Oh, I'm just gonna talk about events and da-da. And that's not really a theme, and that's not like a basis to base episodes around, Point being, though, for in the meantime, that's not to say, like, oh, I want to copy them and da-da. No, I think what they do is great. Point being, though, what is the point? What is the point? Point being, what is the point? No, I think going forward, it's either going to, hopefully when this grows, it can grow into, that's what I wanted it to be when this started, was like silly advice. And this is, I want not copying the Jake Johnson one. I just heard about them this week. So, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh, now they have that idea, I want to do that. But to a way lesser extent of what they were doing. The idea was like I'd get comments and like, I'd set up an email and people would send this email and be like, oh, like, my girlfriend wears socks on her hands when she goes to bed. What can I do about that? And like funny, dumb shit like that. But that's not really what this is turning into so far. So I think what it's going to be is just like, going back to the problem I had with like, some of the topics I had were talking about like, Big AJ and the Costco guy stuff. And like, I would have talked about that just for the sake of a title. And the other thing I was going to talk about was like the ray gun dancer and the Olympics. Like there's a conspiracy behind that. And if I actually find those topics like funny, I have something to say, would love to talk about it. But point being is I'm not going to force a topic because it's the viral thing or da-da-da. And who knows? This could change. You know, that could all change. The Lumberland episode did the best, has like 10,000 views because that was, well, not a hot topic, but that was like, it was a clickable thing. Like I do this for a living. So I also know how to approach things from a standpoint on, you know, how are things going to get clicked on if I want things to grow. I get that too. But selfishly, I think now I might just lean into like the micro stuff that I'm interested in and just share what I think is cool. Until if this develops into something else and there's a different theme, I think it's really just going to be me sharing what I'm into and what's cool or what I think is cool, as opposed to like, what did the Costco guys do this week? Oh, did you see the Rizzler video and have an opinion about that? And da-da-da. So with that said, this is no longer a internet culture show. I found myself every single week was just like, I would talk about TikTok every single week. And did you see this on TikTok? Demure. Ooh, very, very demure, very mindful is the thing. That was going to be this whole week or the last week leading up to this episode. I was like, I know what this week's podcast is going to be. The title is going to be, what does demure mean? And I had the thumbnail and like everything. And I was like, that was like the moment I caught myself like, oh, you're just like chasing viral stuff and you're just talking about what's popular on TikTok that week in hopes of the most clicks. And that's lame. But you know what is cool? Talking about shit I'm into. Like going back to the first episode, I talked about the X Games. Today, we're talking about Supreme. We're talking about Loafers. We're talking about it's mainly it. Oh, I bought a new record. There's Kyle Mooney's directorial debut coming out that I'm really excited for because I love Brigsby Bear. That I thought up until this morning he directed. Turns out he didn't. He just starred in it. Maybe he wrote it. Maybe he co-wrote it. I think that's might just be spewing bullshit, but I don't know. Anyway, say what the title is of this episode is. I think is forgot it. Is Supreme cool again? That sounded stupid. Is Supreme cool again? Kinda. I think it's back. They just released are releasing the campaign with Tyler. That's been 10, 12 years in the making. That's super exciting. I think that's super sick. I'm also not a Supreme historian. I don't know all the details. No, I can't say like, the spring summer 2017, they did this collab and that was blah, blah, blah. I'm not really into it like that. I've been following their drops for a few years, but with this Tyler collab and also seeing other kind of think pieces about this year's drop is that they're going back to a lot of like their like basic stuff where I guess like there's nothing mind blowing in this drop, but it's all like classic Supreme stuff and stuff that feels very like that like 2012 to 2016 feel, you know? And I think with bringing in Tyler, who I would argue is their biggest, I don't know if you want to say advocate. You know, he's not sponsored by them, but like, there's an argument to be made that, and Tyler even makes this argument of like, he's a big reason Supreme is as big as it is because of all the Odd Future influence that they had in their heyday. Always rocking Supreme, and they'd put it in their songs and all this. I'll tell you this. I didn't know the first drop was happening. I guess it makes sense if they like show you, if they start releasing stuff or releasing like the lookbook and everything, that the drop is going to happen soon. The Tyler box logo photo tee, whatever, is dropping this week. It's dropping on Thursday. We film Stash Club on Thursdays. Drops at 11 a.m. So I think I haven't, and this is what I'm talking about nostalgia-wise. I haven't done this in a long time for Supreme. I also want to make note. It's not like I've like bought a shit ton of Supreme. I can't really afford all the crazy pieces. All I've really, I currently own 2 hats. In the past, I think I've bought a handful of t-shirts. I think I bought 1 t-shirt or was gifted a t-shirt like secondhand. I did do the thing where like back in 2016, like you buy a t-shirt and you buy another t-shirt and then you flip that t-shirt on Depop or Grailed or whatever, and like you think you're a reseller and you're gonna be so rich reselling Supreme tees and whatever. Did that in 2016, or did that like I said, did it once, bought a t-shirt, sold it, whatever. But I remember I'd have an alert set for 11 a.m. You get on it. That was also when things like sold out more. This Tyler tee, I'm gonna try for it. I really am. I'm gonna pause filming at like 10:58. I'm gonna say, Dante, Sophie, sorry. Give me 5 minutes. Let me just see if I can get this Tyler tee. I know I'm not marrying myself to it. I know I'm not gonna get it. I know it. But like inner childhood, it's not even like childhood. It's like inner teen. Like that's a very like, I know people use like healing my inner child, but this is like inner teen. You know what I mean? Healing your inner teenager. I'm gonna try. There's a lot of shit dropping. There's like a few hats I want. So we might be a sentence I haven't said in a few years. Might be buying some Supreme. Might be dropping a few bucks on some Supreme stuff. I also have their beanies. I think I'll make this statement here. They made, I think, the best beanie. Most comfortable, size-wise, colors, everything. I think they had the best beanie years ago. I bought this gold one I know I said I'm not really this guy, but here we are. I want to say it had to have been fall, winter 2016 or 2017. It's this gold beanie and has the red box logo on it, which I don't really like the look of that now. It's a little too box logo. But that beanie, I still have it. My cat kind of ripped the front of it, so I wear it backwards. It's also kind of dirty. I wanted to re-up it. My favorite beanie, favorite fit. So I want to say 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. Every year, the one I'm talking about specifically too, is the loose gauge beanie. Love it. For a while, I didn't think anyone made a better beanie. I bought a maroon one. It had the script writing on it. I bought a maroon one, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy this every year and re-up every winter and da-da. And I bought it, and the way my heart broke when I found that they changed the blank, they must have changed the blank because it was just way tighter. It didn't fit as well. The shape was weird. It's like really tight and like does this weird like, kind of. It's a weird shape on your head. It looks silly. It's not as like nice, is the best way I can describe it. Poorly. So, as they do every year, they release the loose gauge beanies. There's a few different colors. There's like a green one. I might just re-up on a brown one. Keeping my fingers crossed. I'm going to buy it. Keeping my fingers crossed that it's good. I'll tell you that. There's also, there's two S hat 6 panels that I want. There's like the washed, like regular one. And then I want this corduroy one that has like the leather buckle on it. That's what if I don't get the wash one, that's fine. But like that's kind of like what I'm going for. What I do is I look through all the lookbooks. I only look at like, if I'm being honest, I really only look at the hats in terms of like what I actually buy. So like really what I can't afford. And if there's a t-shirt that comes to mind, I'm not really into graphic tees as much these days, ironically. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a little bit when we get to Loafer talk. Stay tuned for Loafer talk. I do look at the accessories, which are wild this year. Can I pull it up? Let me pull up the preview. Supreme. I know they have a is it a squat rack or a weight rack or the same shit? I think it's just a weight rack. That shit is crazy. It's like that Supreme red all on it. It has the bench and all the weights, and it's fucking crazy. And that's the shit like that's gonna go for it. They always have like, I think a few years ago they had like a fucking full motorcycle or a dirt bike. Pool tables, pinball machines. They have all that crazy shit. I love that to like to like, I mean, obviously I'm not in the market for it, but like that's always fun to see how silly and like they're self-aware about how stupid and silly it is. It's not like they're like, oh, we're gonna sell 1 million of these. Da-da-da. All right, full accessories. They have a saxophone, which I don't even know how this is. Oh, it has like an engraving on it. That's cool because it's not. It's a Selmer alto saxophone. That's crazy. A bicycle. Bicycle's kind of sick. Oh fuck, I lost it. Got the squad. I wish they had the prices. I mean, they'll have them when they drop, obviously, or they'll be on like that drop list website. Go to accessories. What else they have? I kind of want them. They have like a mini. Oh, they have a Grinch Christmas ornament. They have like a mini dirt bike sort of guy. Some necklaces. A beaker. Salt and pepper shaker. What the fuck is that? Like a dog coat or some shit? Honestly, not like super crazy. A plate, Supreme plate. Oh, what? They have a replica chopped cheese sandwich. What? I thought this was like, when I first saw this, I know I'm like talking about stuff I can only look at, but whatever. It's not worth it. So this image is an image of like a white plate with the Supreme logo on it. And then it has a chopped cheese sandwich on it. And I just thought that was just like to demonstrate how a plate works. But apparently it's like a ceramic piece. That's crazy. Wow, that's wild. Point being though, it's cool. I think Supreme's cool again. I think we're back. And as I've matured and grown up, again, the more tasteful pieces. I buy the loose gauge beanie maybe like every other year. I'm probably going to buy one this year. Keep my fingers crossed. I like it. Got my eyes on a couple of hats. And the only tee I'm looking for is that Tyler tee. And it's expensive. It's like, I think it's like $58. That'll end up being $68 with shipping. I don't treat myself to a lot of stuff. I buy myself like, a new whatever, like a new expensive thing every now and again. Like I'll go thrifting and buy myself whatever, or like, flea markets and buy stuff. But like I rarely buy like a new, like fairly expensive thing that's just for shits and giggles, unless it's like for something for work or like, camera equipment or something like that. That stuff I have no problem. If I have the money for it, if this camera broke tomorrow, I drop $2,000 like tomorrow. You know what I mean? Savings. I'm not saying I dip into savings, dip into the emergency fund. But if I have the money, or I have to make myself have the money, I'll make that jump, because that's my livelihood. Always liked cameras. Never. That's a different conversation. But was that enough Supreme talk? Are we moving on from Supreme talk? What did I buy? I bought a new pair of jeans the other day, secondhand on Depop. Bought a pair of jeans. Excited about that. Let's go over, we'll take a break from clothes. So I want to talk about, I'm in the market for a pair of loafers. And that kind of goes on what I was saying about like, I turned 28 in June. I think all my shirts are graphic tees. I need to find like a good place to buy just like regular plain tees. I'm going to look at Elwood. I think one, they're pretty expensive. And I think their cut might be like too trying to replicate vintage. Like I think they might come with like the neckline already kind of frayed. I don't really want that when I'm buying a brand new t-shirt, I love that if I'm buying a vintage thing. That's because it has the actual story in it. It has the actual soul. It has the actual heart in it. It's not trying to be replicated, by a brand in 2024. I think that shit's so stupid. I hate that shit. When a brand is selling like a brand new t-shirt, and like the name of it is like our brand new vintage core t-shirt or whatever. That shit's so stupid. I didn't write down notes this week. Obviously, like I'm looking at my phone. I just kind of have like a few things. That's Supreme, I guess. We'll move on. Point being though, I'm glad nostalgia's back. I'm glad the nostalgia of it is back, or it feels good to be in the nostalgia of it. I'm excited to buy a couple pieces. Maybe talk to some friends about it. I have one friend who maybe I'm curious if he's circling back to the Supreme market. I don't know. Like I said, keep it subtle. Oh, there is also this crazy. There's a few. There's this sweater, this white sweater of like people like skiing or sledding. That's really cool. There's this one brown leather jacket. And I know I just said I don't like vintage looking things, but it looks like this like vintage leather brown bomber jacket. And on the front it has no print or no logo or whatever. It looks sick and has like kind of like aging on it. On the back, it has this crazy, it's not, I don't know if it's printed, like what the actual term is, but it's like this giant, almost a mural of like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on the back. And then on the top, like across the shoulders, it's like Supreme. And then it has like Snow White and all this shit. It's crazy. That's the shit where it's like I can look at and like it's either I think it's sick or it's cool, or a lot of times with that shit, it's like cool as an art piece, but I'm like, I'd never fucking wear it. Also, that shit's gonna be like $1,200. Again, I don't recommend. I'm not sitting here recommending or advising to buy it because like that shit is expensive. Like 40. What's their baseline tee? Like a regular graphic T-shirt I think is 38 or 48. It's too expensive for a T-shirt. I'm just dumb, and I like feeding kind of my inner teen who couldn't get the the Supreme shirt in 2016 when he was listening to Odd Future. You know what I mean? But now if I have a little bit of money, it's nice to like buy the S logo hat for $40, $50, whatever it is. I don't know. You'll never catch me with just like the fucking Supreme, like dumb, colorful shit and da-da-da. But regardless, it's cool to see a full circle moment, seeing Tyler with it. It feels cool again. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I'm kind of riding it for the fall winter. I think it's sick. All right, let's go on to. I got some new pickups. The book is over there. Can I reach the? All right, whatever. I got some new pickups today. I went to the store. They sell used vinyl and books, and I got one of each. Now, I think I've talked about my sorry, checking the time. I think I talked about my current vinyl record journey, right? Vinyl record. I've also heard people, it's either a vinyl or it's a record. I've heard people say there's no such thing as a vinyl record. I just got my setup. I got speakers. I got a record player. For the longest time, I only had one record. Again, I think I've talked about this, but it's one of my favorite albums of all time. It's Absolutely by Dijon. Had that. I bought that before I even had a record player because I was like, I just want this piece of physical media as one of my favorite albums. So I had that. I got the Her soundtrack on vinyl as a gift. And then at that point, I had a record player, and I was like, okay. But I talked about this already. For the fourth time, I know I've talked about this, but I like the idea of going to like these used places or a flea market or a thrift store and digging. Like that's what I saw the hobby as. And my friend's been in it for a while, and you dig through the shit. I don't like, unless you're like looking for a specific like new thing, I don't love going to like a record store that has all new and sealed stuff and there's no hunt. It's like, oh, you want that Strokes album, or you want a really rare one, like, Blonde by Frank Ocean is supposed to be like a pretty rare vinyl. And you go to one of these stores, it's like, it's expensive. It's like $75 for Blonde, but it's like, oh, it's there. Oh, it's right there. I like the idea of like a used record, something that's been loved before and it's a little cheaper. So that's why I like going to this place. I do kind of like buying books new. I like the idea of being like the first and only one to like put the creases in the book and to kind of like be the one that's like read it. You know what I mean? That I'm a little less hard stanced on. Anyway, so a few weeks ago I bought Donna Summer's self-titled, and that's cool. I'm not a big disco head, but like, I think I bought that for like $5. I'm trying to go on the basis of like judge a book by its cover. Like, look, I think judging a book by its cover is great. Anyone that says don't judge a book by its cover doesn't know what they're talking about. If you have a bad cover, the book's probably gonna be bad, or the album's probably gonna be bad. I think it's a big reflection of it, Half joking. But I saw the Donna Summers cover while I was looking through it. I was like, "Oh, this looks sick. I like the colors. It looks real, big 80s vibes." And I was like, "This is gonna be sick." Played it. It's cool. There's a couple cool records on it. Again, not a big fan of disco. But so I did that same method of just like whatever speaks to you, whatever cover speaks to you, dig through whatever. So part of what I'm doing this vinyl journey for is to, one, not only just like expand my music taste, but like my music knowledge. Like I would love to be at a bar and, talk about like, oh, what's your favorite, who I've been really into? Hall & Oates. What's your favorite Hall & Oates album? What's your favorite, I'm jumping around the person I have in front of me. But you know what I mean? Just be a little more eclectic in that sense. And, like going from like, oh yeah, I really love the new Kendrick album or the new Drake album or the new like someone very current and someone who I like, but also in the same breath to be like, hey, I also really liked the 1992 album by Nirvana or The Strokes, like whatever. Trying to be more well-rounded in my music. And I think this is a fun way to do it, of just like go record by record, whatever speaks to you. Don't look at reviews, just like look through, oh, this record looks cool. I know this person or I recognize it, play it, and then experience it that way, right? So, long-winded way to say that's exactly what I did with this record I have in my hand right here, Slow Train Coming by Bob Dylan. Now, Bob Dylan is someone I know. I know that I enjoy their music. I know that I like Bob Dylan, but I don't know Bob Dylan. I don't know many songs. I don't know any albums. I think my parents were a little before Bob Dylan, so it's not like I even got like a lot from them. So I want to, and I know I the only thing I know about Bob Dylan is that he's renowned as arguably the greatest songwriter of all time. So I figured if I'm diving into important artist, Bob Dylan seems like a fun one to start with, or an interesting one to start with, I should say. And I also didn't know he's released a fuck ton of music. So when I was digging through the Bob Dylan section, there's a few covers I recognized, probably like the most popular albums, couldn't name them. But I'm also trying to do this on a little bit of budget starting out, which maybe isn't the right way to do it. I think I need to dive in and pay the money. So I think with something like this, you are paying for quality, right? So all the other Bob Dylan records were like $35, $40, whatever. This one, I just saw that I like the simplicity of it. I like the colors. I like the look of it. I like the hand-drawn stuff. That was a cool cover. That's really the basis of it, right? Slow Train Coming, Instinct. I looked it up a little bit just to, I know I'm contradicting myself when I'm saying this, but I also don't want to waste my money. This was $16. So I did look it up just to make sure it's not like renowned as his worst album, because like if I'm doing this and if I'm experiencing these new artists or these new albums, I want to at least be like, if I'm spending the time and spending the money, I want at least something half decent. So I looked it up. It wasn't in his bottom 5. So I was like, perfect. And he has like 20 something albums. So I was like, okay, fine. At least it's not like this isn't his worst. So I get a book that I'll talk about. I don't have much to say about the book. I'm only like a chapter in. But I got this record. I go up to the register. And the guy's talking to me about the book. The book I got is Christopher Buckley. It's called Thank You for Smoking. He's talking about the book. He's like, oh, this is a good book, and my wife read something similar, and blah, blah, blah. And then I go, how about this record? Like, what do you think? Is this a good album? He looks at it and goes, I don't really know about Slow Train Coming by Bob Dylan. He goes, I know Bob Dylan a little bit, and I know more about him when he was with, like, the band. And then he tells me, yeah, he said, what I do know about it is that's his first record when it's his first record of his heavy religious album run, and I was like, oh, huh. And he saw me. He saw me I picked it up off the counter and kind of started to look at it. And maybe this is on me. I didn't look at the back of it. And I also didn't look at the song titles. I was going strictly vibes. And I also noticed afterward that the pickaxe is very shaped like a cross. Like, that's not really how a pickaxe looks. And the back of it looks like a boat or someone's on a lake or at sea. And the mast, whatever, is a cross. And I want to preface this by saying, hey, whatever, you're religious, you're not religious, you're deep into it, you're not deep into it, you go to church, you don't go to church, whatever. I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want, believe in whatever you want. I think now we're tiptoeing into what I said earlier. Like, I don't know how personal I want to get. I just want to preface it. I just explain myself. I'm not making fun necessarily. I'm just saying I'm not really a religious person. I'm not a super religious person. So it's like, it was just a little funny to me. The one record I picked up ended up being one of the 3 out of the 20-something Bob Dylan albums that he's released. That was one of his religious ones. Like, I looked it up, and this is a Christian rock album, and I'm not a Christian rock guy, so some of these titles are as follows. And I think if I took a second to read, I might have been tipped off. And I'll be honest with you, again, this isn't a comment on religion or whatever, but if I knew that it was a Christian rock album and this was like Bob Dylan's like religious Christian whatever album, I would have put it back, but I'm gonna contradict myself in a little bit, so don't worry. Again, not that, well, okay, I'll pace myself here. Okay, some of the song titles are as follows. 1, Gotta Serve Somebody. So, if I just took even half a second to read. Precious Angel. I Believe in You. Slow Train. Gonna Change My Way of Thinking. Do Right to Me, Baby. Parentheses, do unto others. When You Gonna Wake Up. Man Gave Names to All the Animals. That one's really on the nose. And When He Returns. So if I took, half a second, I might not have ended up with a Bob Dylan religious album. Now, here's what I will say. I did listen to it all the way through. Mainly because I paid $16 for it, and I'd be damned, no pun intended, I guess, if I wasn't gonna get my money's worth. So, the instrumentation and the music and the even the songwriting, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the heavy religious themes, and a lot of the lyrics are very on the nose. As much as I'm not really a fan of that, the music and the musicality of it was still really good. I listened to it 1.5 times through. So I couldn't give you some names, but there was 1 or 2 songs that I really picked up on, mainly from the instrumentation. There's one song on it where the last bit of it is this really cool guitar solo, and that's that can be applied to any genre of music. That's what I'm part of this whole experience is to keep an open mind and open yourself up to new musical experiences, right? So, which I think this was a good test of sure, it is a Christian rock album, and it's not my particular taste. However, I found a lot of, good takeaways from it. Again, mainly the instrumentation, and not all the songs. I'm a believer that songs can be open for interpretations. With a lot of this stuff, even though they have heavy religious undertones, there's a lot to take away from it and to kind of contextualize yourself or contextualize it yourself and relate it to you in even other ways that are still relatable. Does that make any sense? God, I feel like I should get off religion. Ooh, boy, I feel like I should get away from this topic. Anyway, my biggest takeaway from listening to this album was that I like Bob Dylan a lot. And I would love to, and I'm looking forward to picking up another record of his. And I think I'm going to spend a little more money, maybe get one of the more, the higher acclaimed albums. And because my takeaway was like, well, if the subject matter necessarily wasn't my cup of tea, I still enjoyed like the songwriting, the musicality of it, and you know, I'm not experienced enough to comment on his voice. I know obviously he has like the nasally stuff, so that's why I want to like experience more stuff and higher acclaim stuff to really fully have an opinion on Bob Dylan. 'Cause I like his voice. That was all to say I like his voice. Sure, it can be kind of nasally at times, but like, you know, I'm talking about Bob Dylan, so I don't think that's like a crazy, you know what I mean? A crazy thing. But yeah, apparently this is one of the better religious albums that he put out. So I read, so I hear. But I'll probably listen to this again. I'll probably put it on the background cleaning and whatever, and experience more Bob. And like I said, it's the biggest takeaway was I enjoy Bob Dylan from this, so I'm excited to listen to his like hitters, you know. Maybe we'll get sad along the way. Again, if you're a good songwriter, I hear sad things about Bob Dylan. I hear he writes some you know, heartstring pulling records. What's the sleeve? I think the sleeve even. What is this? Oh, that's a picture of him. I thought it was like something else. What year did this come out? I think this is... I'm going to get this wrong. I think this is 84. Shouldn't it say the date on it? I think it's 84. I don't want to look it up again, but I could be wrong. I want to say 84. Oh, shit. Almost dropped it. Anyway, that's that. I will keep everyone in the loop on whatever the next record I get is. I think it is going to be a Bob Dylan record. I mean, you know, again, unless my whole thing with this is I'm going to go into the record store, whatever speaks to me. But for whatever reason, I was like, I got the 80s record, and I wanted to get something different, a little more, I don't know, rock, I guess. I don't know. Again, I don't know Bob Dylan enough to really be like, oh, this is musically what a Bob Dylan record sounds like. What I did, there was a lot of, which I did appreciate, a lot of like soul and funk influences, which I really liked. And there was like a choir background vocals and women singing backup, and like if I remember correctly, there was kind of like a lot of brass and a lot of kind of big instrumentation that like if I went in way more blind with this, I'd be like, this is a Bob Dylan record, because the stuff I know is a way more stripped back sort of song style. And this was like this. A lot of these songs had some groove. And also, that's the point. Last thing, we're gonna get away from Christian rock. We're gonna move on from any aspect of religion in a second. But again, to give credit where credit's due, you know, there's religious topics, undertones, whatever, in a lot of music, and especially in a lot of like soul and funk and folk and just the blanket indie stuff. So it's like another positive experience I got out of this that I kind of already touched upon is don't put up that mental blockade right away. And even if it's not like, you know, if you go into a record like, oh, I hate metal, or I hate jazz, or I hate whatever, I think going into something without that, and this is a metaphor for life here, having that experience, opening yourself up to that experience without that mental blockade of going into it being like, well, this isn't a John thing. John doesn't like this sort of music and open yourself up and listen to it and find takeaways. Even if you're like, I know you're not gonna like it and you don't end up liking it and you're like, oh, I proved myself right and I was right, whatever. It's less about that. It's more about, well, what takeaways can you get from it? What was there anything you liked of it? Did you like his voice? Did you like, I'm talking about, back to this record specifically, like the guitar playing or the song structure or whatever. There's takeaways in stuff like that. And like I said, it would be crazy to write off like, oh, I don't like, I don't like real in your face religious themes in music. But then it's like, well, then you're writing off years and genres and tons of great artists just because of their maybe songwriting style for some songs, some projects. But like I said, there's still takeaways in tons of stuff. I think on the Donna Summer record there was a pretty religious leaning song, and it's a great song. It's like it's I don't want to say nothing crazy about it because I don't really recall it too well. It's like I don't want to say it's got a good groove to it when I don't really know. Maybe there isn't. Lush, by the way. I don't know. I could be wrong, but my point still stands. Is I don't know. Let's move on. Jesus Christ. Okay. I think we're gonna wrap up with. I don't know if we're gonna talk about the Kyle Mooney album, the Kyle Mooney movie. We can. All right. Let me go on his Letterboxd. No, let me go on his Wikipedia. I want to see what he wrote. So I think he did write Brigsby Bear. I just don't think he directed it. David McCary wrote Brigsby Bear. If you haven't seen Brigsby Bear, worth watching. I'm not going to say anything about it. Oh, this person's married to Emma Stone, this director. What the fuck is this guy? Okay, that's beside the point. Who wrote it? Okay, written by Kevin Costello and Kyle Mooney. Okay, but it wasn't directed by him. Okay. Oh yeah, Mark Hamill's in it too. Andy Samberg. So anyway, I think the trailer, it's an A24 movie. I think the trailer just came out like a few hours ago at this point. It's called Y2K, Kyle Mooney's directorial debut. And it looks, I'm hoping it's what A24 does, where maybe the trailer is maybe a little bit of a misdirect. I don't know. It seems, I don't even know. Again, this is another kind of instance where I'm trying to like form an opinion on it, just to have an opinion, and I don't really have one. I saw the trailer and I was like, I'm gonna go see it. That's kind of as far as my opinion on seeing the trailer is. It's like, oh, cool. I'm gonna go see it. I'm a fan of Kyle Mooney. I would love to see his directorial debut. Let's go to the Letterboxd of it. 93 minutes. We love that. It has is this kid in Stranger Things? Jaden Martell. Oh, he's in It. He's in the It movies. I don't know if he's in. Letterboxd doesn't show TV shows. Fred Durst is in it. Kyle Mooney is also in it. The kid Leroy is in it. He pops up in there for a second. I'm also a fan of Tim Heidecker. He's in it. I think he produced it. I wouldn't be surprised if he's involved in it. It seems up his alley. It says on the last night of 1999, two high school juniors crash a New Year's Eve party only to find themselves fighting for their lives in this dial-up disaster comedy. I think it'll be funny. I think there'll be hit or miss parts of it. A lot of the previews said like the big point of the movie was like, the whole 1999 thing, and at New Year, and like everyone thought computers were gonna fucking explode and the world was gonna end. Y2K. And then all of a sudden, like all the technology starts becoming dangerous and forming. It's hard to explain. It's crazy. Just watch the trailer. But I'm hoping this is similar to what like Brigsby Bear did, because Brigsby Bear, the trailer, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but the trailer is a super misdirect. It's a misdirect like I've never seen in a trailer, and it makes the movie even better. So I'm hoping the trailer, which is kind of like, this is the first trailer. It's a dark comedy, I think is what it's being described as, or it's a rated R comedy, or I don't even know if it's satirical. I don't think, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. I hope it's good. Like I said, that's kind of as far as I've gotten with it. Until the next trailer comes out or I hear more things about it. But it's like I didn't see it, and I'm like, this is gonna be the best movie of the year. But I also saw it, and I was like, well, this is interesting. I'm gonna watch it. I don't know. That's that. Anyway, Loafer Talk, baby. What up? What's going on? Welcome to Loafer Talk. I'm in the market for some loafers, baby. And I think I got my eyes set on some. I think I'm going with the Cherry Red Adrian loafer by Doc Martin. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Doc Martens in general. I have one pair. I have the low. It's the one. It's the fucking Doc Martin. It's the one. I think it's like the 14, the 149 something, whatever the model is. Now, this isn't my problem with it, but I've had it for 2 years. And this is my problem. I barely wear it, so it's still not broken in. I wore them the other day for the first time in a long time, and hurt my ankle again with like the you know what I'm talking about. Not gonna wear them for another month. I even just don't think I think the look. I don't know why I bought them. It was one of those purchases. It was one of those purchases you think, oh, I'm going to step up my wardrobe. It's a non-sneaker and it's going to be cool. And Doc Martens are sick right now, blah, blah, blah. And I bought them and it didn't go with my style. It didn't go with what I wear and da-da-da. However, like I was kind of alluding to when you're talking about the Supreme stuff, is I think right now, I don't want to call it like my style is evolving, whatever. Like the mindset and where I'm at right now is kind of simpler, less complex, like stripped down, kind of going back to basics. That's kind of what I was saying. I want to get a lot more non-graphic design t-shirts, where wearing pants that are maybe a little are altered to fit better, not as baggy or not as stacked, you know what I mean? That's where a loafer comes in. I think a loafer is going to be huge. Like I said, the other ones I had in mind, I got a recommendation the other day for J. Crew's loafer, and I've also gotten a recommendation for the GH Bass Weegian. Going with the Doc Martens, I think it's a better entry level one. It's also a little more chunkier than those two. The other ones are a lot slimmer, and right now I'm wearing kind of wider or some more straight leg pants. And I'm looking for the look I'm going for is like a chunkier, bulkier silhouette. But I also think Doc Martens, what I like about him is, and maybe I'm for a Doc Marten head, maybe I'm wrong. What I like about them is they don't look like Doc Martens. They don't have the yellow stitching, which I think is obnoxious. That's part of the reason why I don't wear the ones I have. I don't like that yellow stitching in the detail. It's Doc Martens sometimes to me screams hey, I'm wearing Doc Martens. And hey, I'm counterculture. Hey, I'm edgy. I liked pop punk in 2007. It's what it feels like sometimes. I don't think Doc Martens makes bad stuff. I just think there's a little bit of we get it. You're wearing Doc Martens. We get it. So isn't everyone. I don't know. It feels like people wear them and they're like, "Ooh, I'm wearing Doc Martens. This is niche." As a million other people around them are also wearing the same shoe and also feel the same way that they're unique wearing Doc Martens. Pop off. Again, keep in mind, I don't dislike them. I don't know what my weird thing with Doc Martens is. But anyway, the Adrian Loafer doesn't look like Doc Martin. Someone who actually knows Doc Martens will probably disagree with me because they have that soul that all Doc Martens have. I don't know. That's what I'm going with there. A little expensive. Haven't given myself an attaboy gift in a while, which I guess I'm doing a lot of this week if I buy the Adrian Loafers and then also try to get a few things from Supreme during the drop. And it's gonna be an expensive week. So if everyone can go to patreon.com/Stash Club Wrestling, that would help. Appreciate it. Or, you know what you can do? You can hit join on this channel. And that's kind of it. It's more of a donation than anything. I think you get a couple emojis or some shit. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's just a donation. No, you don't get anything from being a member of this channel. I just became eligible for it and I turned it on, and it's there now. So if we're plugging stuff, we're also on Spotify. 70 followers on Spotify. So again, to full circle this, the show's almost over. We're almost ready to get out of here. This one flew by. Wow. I had thoughts of maybe I'll a couple things. One, don't be surprised if this ends up being a bi-weekly show. I think I come up with topics way better, and then I don't have to lean on the random what's viral on TikTok today. For a moment, I was like, do I even just do it? And I can focus focus that time on music or other YouTube videos or whatever. But then I was like, well, I'll tell you this. I'll be fully transparent. This podcast is getting a lot more viewers and listeners than I thought it was going to get. I kind of talked about this in one of the episodes, but the first few episodes out the gate, the most popular ones, you get curiosity clicks, blah, blah. Obviously, the Lumberland one strategically did what it did. But last, the episode 6 was titled the weekends are too stressful. And the one before that wasn't even named anything crazy, whatever. And there was consistently 400 to 500 or 600. I think the one before that has 700 on YouTube. The Spotify listens are there, 70 followers on Spotify. So people listen to it more than I thought. So I didn't want to, we have something. And when I say we, I definitely mean we. So I didn't want to just end it. I'm curious to see what it evolves into. Bi-weekly. Does it stay weekly? Does it stick in the personal journals category? Does it go to more comedy, or does it go to hot topics? I don't know. I'll tell you what I'm going to try my best not to make it, though, is every single episode isn't going to be about the podcast. Because I know I spent the first 10 minutes being here's my problem with this podcast, and here's my conundrum. And I do that a lot, and then it's like rapping about rapping, how people criticize a lot of artists for that, or a lot of those lyrical miracle is they're just rapping about rapping. So it's what's the song about? They're whatever. So I've been kind of I've caught myself kind of podcasting about podcasting. I think that can be interesting to a certain extent, but not every single episode has to be a crazy reflection. I'm going to try my best not to do that, but I think this episode coming back was important to do that. Anyway, I can feel myself running on garbage time at this point. I'll keep everyone updated on what's going on. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter for all the updates, just to follow me on that. We're sniffing 10K on everything. I think I'm at 9,800 on Twitter, 94, close to 9,500 on Instagram. Been sniffing that 10K for a while. Passing that would be super fun, super silly. Thank you for listening. Genuinely, thank you for listening. Like I alluded to, this thing would have stopped, and this episode wouldn't have come out without seeing oh wow, people actually listen to this and da-da-da. I'll leave you with that. Thanks for joining this week. Please make sure you're subscribed. Please follow on everything. More plugs. You get it. There's Stash Club merch coming out this week. Figured I should plug that. because a lot of most people listen to this are Stash Club fans. We haven't really jumped out of that niche yet, which is great. I love it. It's a cool fan base to bring over. But so point being is like if it's the same audience, why not plug the merch? The merch is good. The merch is good. This it's always been good, but it's my favorite. It's my favorite design. So. All right. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week or the week after that. Like I said, who knows? John Watches Wrestling is my other wrestling YouTube channel. I'm posting clips on TikTok and I'm posting some videos on YouTube and we're doing a bunch of different stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I'm hopefully I'll get some non-podcast videos up on this channel. Not everything's going to be a tier list. We're figuring it out. Thank you for being on this journey and for hearing about other journeys I'm on, like with the vinyl thing and the reading stuff and the clothing stuff and blah, blah, blah. All right. Enough thank yous. Enough thank yous. Jesus Christ. Okay. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.